Today, I want to share something deeply personal and complex that happened to me. Something that makes us rethink freedom, religion, and security in the West. While out running errands, I met a young man named Stretch, a genuinely good person and, as I learned later, a practicing Muslim observing Ramadan. Imagine this. Here he was, fasting, no food or water, yet still playing hard, showing discipline and strength. It made me pause and reflect on the human side behind these debates. But this encounter brought me face to face with a much bigger question. How do we balance respecting individual freedom while protecting our societies from ideologies that may threaten our way of life? Yesterday, I listened to a powerful podcast by Francisco Gil White, who raised a sharp point. Most mosques in Europe are funded by jihadist countries like Saudi Arabia. This financing, he argues, is not neutral. It's tied to spreading radical ideologies that often clash with Western values. Here's where it gets tricky. Should Western countries allow such funding, which essentially exports radicalism into our neighborhoods? Should we close radical mosques or expatriate extremist clerics without violating religious freedoms? Gil White provocatively suggests Islam isn't just a religion, but an ideology that can sometimes promote the destruction of Western culture. This challenges the core of our liberal principles. Why grant protected status to an ideology that aims to undermine us? The situation is layered. Many Muslims living in the West reside in ghettos, radicalized by local imams. But there are also many who integrate peacefully. How do you distinguish extremists from the faithful? Because the cost of a mistake is high. Allowing radicals in puts our security and values at risk. But shutting down freedoms risks the very liberties we cherish. And it's even more complicated considering the migrations, some fleeing persecution, others potentially harboring extremist views. The podcast also pointed out that in countries like Iran, converting to Christianity is punishable by imprisonment or worse, showing the lack of true religious freedom in some Muslim-majority states. So how do we negotiate this clash of freedoms? One striking fact is that the Quran, unlike the Bible, never mentions love, a foundational concept in Christianity repeated 279 times. Instead, some verses explicitly warn Muslims against befriending Jews and Christians, creating an inherent divide. This ideological divergence matters because it influences social cohesion and trust in multicultural societies. Add to this the political ignorance in Western governments about Islam's complexities, the worst mix for effective policymaking. The tension boils down to incentives and trust. When countries rich in oil wealth bankroll mosques that preach radicalism, they incentivize division and violence rather than integration. Western states must act like rational guardians of their citizens, akin to a family protecting its own. Why invite harm by embracing those whose beliefs oppose our values and freedoms? Yet the solution doesn't lie in wholesale bans or blanket suspicion. It lies in scrutinizing who enters, promoting integration, and demanding adherence to Western norms. This debate isn't just theoretical. It affects immigration policies, social stability, and even electoral politics. Countries that fail to manage it risk fostering ghettos, radicalizing youth, and igniting social unrest. On the flip side, overly harsh measures may betray our own liberal ideals, empowering authoritarian responses and feeding victim narratives. We stand at a crossroads where reason, evidence, and respect for individual choice must guide us. The challenge is balancing freedom with security, openness with prudence. What can't continue is naivety or ideological softness that overlooks incentives and real risks. As this debate unfolds, what we decide will shape not just immigration laws, but the cultural and economic future of our countries. Will we protect our freedoms by demanding integration and vigilance, or will we risk them by blind tolerance of incompatible ideologies? The answer could determine the fate of Western liberal democracy itself.